And that is the close of our formal presentation. Jim or Beryl, did you have anything to add before we move forward to our Q&A?
No, I did not. You covered the main points.
All right.
Nothing from me either.
All right. And so everyone on the call today, or Zoom today, sorry, it's not a call, feel free to put any questions you have in the Q&A, because now is the time that we will engage and answer any questions that you may have. I'm going to turn on the transcripts 1 second. Yes, so I did receive some questions in advance, and so I'll go to those and hoping that you all will submit the remainder of your questions in the Q&A. The first question that I received via email was, are all courses offered all times? Would I be able to start the program in the summer and take the required courses that I need?
You may start in the summer. You may start in any of the 3 semesters. On the other hand, all courses are not offered all times. We have, pretty much like any university, you have to plan strategically in terms of meeting requirements for the program and meeting the times when the courses are offered. So our very popular courses are offered pretty much every semester, but some of the other courses, such as the more advanced courses, are offered on a certain scheduled basis. And again, it does involve a little bit of strategic planning on the part of the student to make sure that they hit all the requirements.
All right.
I should add one thing. All that information is widely available, though, in terms of your planning. We put out documents that allow you to do that planning very precisely.
All right, great. Thanks for that, Jim. The next question from Stephanie, is the program or classes asynchronous?
So we have 3 modes of providing our classes. We have face-to-face classes, although obviously with COVID, that hasn't happened in the last year or so. We also have what we call virtual live, where some students come to campus to take the class and others watch a live stream of the class. And if you can't attend, there is a recording. And then finally, we have asynchronous online courses where each week you get a module opened up and you're able to take care of it at your own pace.
Great, thank you for that, Beryl. The next question from Ted. Could you tell us more about the Postmaster Certificate?
Sure. The Postmaster Certificate is sort of a bridge between a master's degree and a doctoral degree. It is a 5 or 6 course requirement beyond the master's degree. There are some restrictions in terms of which courses can be taken for that requirement. There's also a research component to that if the student is interested in doing research. So it does allow a person to go beyond a master's degree. There's a formal recognition beyond a master's degree. You are entitled to walk across the stage at graduation when you're receiving the Postmaster Certificate, and you get a diploma type document as well. So it does allow, the bottom line is it does allow for advanced study in some of the courses that you may not have had a chance to take as a master's student.
All right, great, thanks for that. The next question from Suni, are all core courses offered online?
So we have 603, which is our statistics class that is definitely offered online. There also is, I believe, a virtual live offering of that as well. 609 is our matrix analysis class that also has an online the only one that is not offered online, I think, and Jim can help me with this, is 601 real analysis. However, students can either take real analysis or matrix analysis depending upon their interest. Those are our basic courses. And then we have a 700 level sequence that every student has to pick from, and those are offered online.
Should I, Beryl is correct in what she said. I would add one thing now in terms of the real analysis course, 601. We're offering that in our so-called virtual live format, which is a synchronous online format, but recordings are made available for asynchronous viewing.
All right, thank you both. The next question, is there an online PhD degree program available? So no, unfortunately, the part-time programs do not offer a PhD, but there is a DEng program that's offered. And so it's we look at it like the part-time working professionals doctorate degree. And so I will put more information about that program in the chat for you, so you can see if that would be a good fit for you. And there's actually some virtual info sessions we're hosting in the next couple of months. So you will be able to log into something like this to get more information about that program. The next question from Christian, and guys, please be sure to put your questions in the Q&A because it's difficult to look at both, especially if we get more questions. The next question, are there a minimum number of classes for credits to enroll each semester?
No. You can take an occasional semester off. We do expect activity on an annual basis at least, or else you become a quiet student of some matter what the classification is. But you can take time off. But on the other hand, you want to keep the pace because there's a 5-year clock that is going at all times. And to make sure to get through the 10 courses within 5 years, you want to make sure you have a sustained activity, obviously of at least 2 courses per year. So we also don't want you to lose the momentum because with mathematics, it is important to sort of keep your chops, basically to keep active at the field, to make sure your skills are sharp.
Great, thanks for that. The next question from Ricardo, can the schedule be adapted to a different workload and trips?
Okay, so I'm going to answer what I think you're asking, and then maybe you might want to follow up on that. So when you enroll in a course, there obviously is an expectation about how much work needs to be done for you to receive your grade. If you run into problems because of work or family issues, you should certainly tell the instructor that as soon as possible to see what accommodations can be made. Usually, because we know that our students are working people who have families, the professors are very cognizant of that and are willing to work with you. So I believe that is addressing that issue. In terms of extending the time to complete the degree beyond 5 years, that can happen in very rare cases, but there would have to be a very good reason for why you would need more than 5 years to complete the degree. So hopefully I've answered what you asked.
Thank you, Beryl. And if she did not answer, just come back in the Q&A and clarify if you have additional questions. Going back to the chat. And so the next question is, how is the online program different from the on-campus program in terms of academics?
We are very careful in designing the ACM program to maintain academic integrity, maintain consistency with requirements of the AMS department at the main campus. The AMS department, by the way, is the Applied Math and Statistics department, our counterpart in the full-time programs. Both Beryl and I have appointments in both locations, so we are well aware of what's going on at both locations. And one of the things we've done over the last number of years, a good number of years, I should say, is to work hard to ensure that our classes are at the same level. So in terms of the overall answer to the question is there is no difference. Now the modality is different. An online modality versus an in-person modality is obviously considerably different in terms of what the student experience is. But in terms of our academic requirements, are essentially the same.
Okay, thank you for that clarification. The next question from Scott, are the programming prereq courses available online as well?
So we have, through the CS department, there is a course in Python that would help people who have no programming experience. It is, I believe, 6 weeks offered each semester, and that is done online. Beyond that, you could certainly try to take courses with CS that they offer, because they have other things like Java and again, Python at higher levels. So you could do that, but there's nothing directly through ACM that we offer as part of our program.
Okay, thanks for that. Jessica's question is next. Is there a general guideline for courses for people who don't know what industry they want to specialize in?
I think that's worth a discussion with your advisor in a case like that. So all students are assigned an advisor. We currently have 4 advisors in the ACM program. They're all very experienced individuals in applied math business. And they can provide good guidance in questions like that. I should also mention that many of our students are employed at the time that they're students, and they largely intend to stay in the same industry that they're employed in, although not 100% of the time is that the case. We do get some people who are interested in career transitions as well. And there is certainly plenty of information available through our career services office, which, as was mentioned in the PowerPoint slides, as a student at Johns Hopkins, you have access to all of the digital resources that are available to either full-time or part-time students. So we will work very strongly and closely with the student to try to accommodate any kind of concerns about career going forward and what they might want to do with their own interests and talents.
All right, great. Thanks for that. The next question from Suni, she's asking 625, 721. Will that course have a virtual online option after COVID, or will it revert to being face-to-face only?
So I'm actually going to kick that one back to Jim.
Okay.
We are considering moving that one to a fully online course. But as of now, as of this coming academic year, it will be offered in the virtual live format, which is synchronous online. Although again, a recording is made and you can look at it asynchronously if needed.
All right. Ricardo is following up with you, Dr. Costello, for your reply about juggling. And this person is based in Europe and just wonders about coping with the time difference. So I guess if you want to circle back to the synchronous versus asynchronous and how that all works.
Right. So obviously for a person like that, we're living in Europe, you'd be taking your classes online or asynchronous online or virtual live, in which case, I think the hardest thing you would have to deal with is trying to make time to talk to your advisor or the professor if need be in person, as opposed to going back and forth with email. But I will say the one thing I think we've all become very good at the last year is handling the time zone differences. So, you know, I've had students not through this program, but at the main campus who are in China, in Australia, in Hawaii. And so we figure it out. So again, our instructors are extremely understanding about these types of issues. And I would just suggest that if you think something's going to become a problem, please, please, please let them know as soon as possible. So introduce yourself to your instructor, say, hey, I'm in Europe, I might have some time zone issues. Can we plan something ahead of time? And I think that would also be much appreciated by the instructor to have a heads up early.
All right, great. The next question, how is asking about costs and the costs for the courses. So our graduate level, the 600 level plus courses cost $5,872. You, once admitted, receive a Dean's Fellowship automatically, and that's $1,117. So your cost per course is $4,755. So we suggest students to budget $47,550 for the 10 courses, and then some more for books and things like that. There are no additional fees. The only additional fee that you will pay is your graduation fee, and that's about $100. I will put a link in the chat for admissions and aid. About 78% of our students receive employer benefits, and so the cost is covered. So if you don't know if your employer covers or reimburses or doesn't have a tuition remission program, you definitely want to look into that. But unfortunately, Hopkins does not offer any internal funding for our part-time master's programs. So I hope that answers your question, and I will follow up and put a link to admissions and fees and aid in the chat. The next question from Hector: could this program serve as a suitable bridge for those who are interested in a full-time PhD program in mathematics in the future?
Absolutely, yes. And we have had a good number of students follow that path. So it is obviously a bona fide master's degree in applied math, as good as we like to think as any other applied math degree in the country. And so if your interests are ultimately applied math, this is a very good transition program. I would also encourage you to consider, for a person like that, I would also encourage the person to consider doing a research track. So perhaps pursuing at least an independent study, if not the thesis option, which is a 2-semester option. You might also work with your advisor. Well, you should also work with your advisor to discuss potential courses that would be most useful at the PhD level. So when I deal with a student who's planning to go on for a PhD, I strongly encourage them to take certain foundational math courses that will help them in terms of passing exams and such in their PhD program. So yes. Now I should qualify with one small caveat, and that is if you want to go ultimately for a pure math PhD, the applied math focus is a little bit different, obviously. And so you might want to consider that and discuss that with us if a pure math PhD is your ultimate goal, which I think I may have heard in the question.
Okay, great. Thank you for that. Jessica's question, how many hours per week will the course work take?
That definitely differs course to course. In the syllabus for each course, the instructor is supposed to give you an estimate of how much time they expect you to take in terms of watching videos or attending lecture, reading, doing homework or working on projects. I would say the average or typical course is probably 10 hours per week, but it could go high, it could go low.
All right, great. Thank you for that. Ted's question, what is the likelihood of transitioning to an applied math PhD program at the Homewood campus? So a little piggyback to what you discussed before, Jim.
Okay, so all the points I just made in my previous answer apply here as well. I think this question was specific to the AMS department at Hopkins. This is a very good bridge program to the AMS department at Hopkins. I should say, though, there's not automatic qualification. I mean, one would have to go through the normal application process, and there's no guarantee of admission, even though you're already within the Hopkins system, so to speak. The program at Homewood, the AMS PhD program, is a fairly competitive program, but it is still something worth going. If you do well in our program, that's a harbinger of a good performance in the AMS PhD as well.
Okay, thank you for that. A question in the chat. I'm moving for an engineering job and I'm passing by Baltimore today. Should I visit campus? I have been interested in your program for 1 year now, and your program is one of the top on my list.
To be honest, I don't know. I mean, unless you just want to see what JHU looks like, I don't know how much value there would be in coming to campus at this time. So in terms of a lot of our faculty, those who are local tend to be working closer to Laurel, which is about 15 miles south of Baltimore. So you wouldn't see any of us. And in addition, because it's summertime and because of COVID, you're probably not going to see a whole lot of people on campus anyway. So again, if you just want to see what Hopkins looks like, sure, but I don't really know that there's a whole lot of value in going right now.
Yeah, I'm gonna agree with what Beryl said. I don't even think that because I was gonna say if you wanted to just see the campus, we do offer tours usually. But right now, I believe you have to sign up in advance. You can't just walk in. And so if you want a self-tour, you're more than welcome. Because it's a private campus, but it's an open campus, so most doors are open. But now, because of COVID, you need a card to get in a lot of doors. So there are some interesting robotics things that you can see from windows if you're walking through a breezeway, but you wouldn't really, you could get a feel for the campus. But again, there's not, I just rode through, there's just not a lot happening right now, but it is a beautiful campus. You can go to the store. Barnes and Noble is like right off campus on Charles and 33rd. And there's a lot of, little food places and things like that. But as a part-time online student, you would not be spending a lot of time on the Homewood campus anyway. but it's beautiful. So yeah.
Yeah.
The next question, go ahead. I'm sorry. Were you saying something?
No, I just say I agree. It is beautiful. I agree.
The next question, where could we get post-graduation statistics for this program?
I guess I'm not 100% clear on what actually is intended here. We can provide some data on our, well, see, I guess let me qualify. As I said earlier, most of our students are employed while they're in the degree program, and most stay with their same employer. So it's a little bit different than in terms of placement statistics you might think about at a full-time program where X% might go into this profession, Y% might go into some other profession. We can get some data on the field. I think the fields that students work in, the general areas that students work in who are in our program, who are graduating from our program. There may be some other statistics we could get to. I'd have to know a little bit more about what actually is being desired here.
Right. So Rashab, I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing your name incorrectly. We also collect alumni statistics and data, but it's more about what they loved about the program, what they didn't love about the program. So I don't know if you want that, or we also ask about promotions and things like that. So if that's the kind of data you want, just follow up, let us know, and we'll try to get what you're asking for to you. The next question, depending on circumstance, would it be possible to reduce the 4 core course requirements and compensate by taking more than 6 electives?
I think the answer to that's going to be no. So the only thing that you could maybe do is with the statistics requirement, if you have a graduate level statistics course in your background already, we might be able to waive that requirement and you could take an additional elective. But beyond that, you have to take the 700 level series, and you would have to take either matrix analysis or real analysis. So at a minimum, you're still going to have to take 3 of those 4 core courses.
All right, thank you for that. I don't see any additional questions in the chat or the Q&A right now. So now is your chance to submit some more questions if you have them. I think we talked about all of the things that we usually get questions about: student services, admissions, and aid. All right, well, I think what usually happens right now is I start to close it out. Yep, there we go. All right, so Scott, is there any exposure to JHU APGL over the program?
Yes and no. I mean, the program is operated out of Johns Hopkins University central campus, I guess is where it's operated out of. The headquarters such are placed at the central campus as part of the School of Engineering. On the other hand, we do have classrooms at the Applied Physics Laboratory. And students, if they take a course either in the virtual live format or in the traditional face-to-face format, should we go back to that format, you will be taking those classes at the Applied Physics Laboratory. Many of our students are employees of APL, and many of our faculty are employees of APL. So you would informally have a chance perhaps to get further information by just meeting and chatting with those people. Other than that, there is no formal connection. APL largely does work for the Defense Department. This is an open program, open to anybody as an academic program. So we can, I mean, if this is if a person has particular interest in, say, ultimate employment at APL, I or the advisor can work with that person to maybe facilitate that.
All right, great. Next question. For the thesis or independent study option, can there be collaboration between our current employer and the program?
Oh, most definitely. In fact, what we look to have in terms of advising or mentoring for the research is you would need someone who is currently within ACM as your official faculty advisor, but that person could work very closely with your external advisor. So that's not at all a problem. In fact, it's really a good idea if you can come in with a project that you are already interested in, because you're more likely to work on it very hard. So yeah, that's not a problem.
All right, sounds good. Next question from Jessica. Can you become a full-time student by adding more courses per semester and finish the program sooner?
Yes, you can take the course, you can take the program in a full-time mode, that is taking 3 or 4 classes per semester. However, I have to caution you that there is a sequencing issue because some of our courses are not offered every semester. So in terms of meeting certain requirements, you have to plan very carefully how you would do that by taking, when you're taking 4 courses per semester. It's possible, but it takes some extra careful planning beyond just the normal 1 or 2 classes per semester that most students pursue.
If I can also add to that, I oftentimes caution my advisees to be very careful with the number of classes you take per semester, especially if you're working and you have family. Those are already huge commitments on your time. And even if you imagine just taking 1 course, you're just getting back into this, that could be a lot of work. So think very carefully about the number of courses you take each semester. Think very carefully about how you pair courses if you're going to take multiple courses in a semester, because some courses can be a lot of work. And also, from our perspective, there is no, as far as I know, and Jim can correct me, there is no financial advantage to taking multiple courses, like 3 or 4 courses. Now, your employer might do something differently, but from our perspective, I don't think we offer any kind of full-time discount.
That's correct. Yeah, and actually, I should go back and qualify my own answer. My own answer was conditioned on the fact that this person wanted to pursue things full-time and was not actually gainfully employed. If the person is gainfully employed, especially at anything approaching full-time, we would absolutely not encourage taking anything more than 2 courses per semester. Even 2 courses per semester can be a strain.
Okay, thank you for that. The next question, can you all discuss the transfer policy for credits in the certificate program?
Jim, I think I'll let you handle that one.
Okay, fine. We will consider transfer on a case-by-case basis. Our general policy is that the course cannot have been used towards a prior degree. So if it was part of your former degree program, if you had done a prior master's degree, let's say, and you course towards that program, we would not consider that as a transfer course unless the degree program was within Hopkins. If it was a Hopkins transfer from one degree program to another, we have special rules for that. The course must be within the 5-year time window, so to speak, for the degree. So if it was a course you took 10 years ago, it's not going to apply as a transfer course. The course must be thematically connected to the ACM program. That is, it must have significant mathematical content and preferably be directly related to one of our existing courses. So be a sort of a substitute for one of our existing courses. And there are some other small requirements too, about paying certain fees and such, but the main ones are the ones I just mentioned. So we do consider transfer courses, but it's not an automatic thing by any means.
All right, thank you for that, Jim. And I don't see any questions right now in the Q&A or the chat. I'm not going to say what usually happens. Maybe it won't happen again. But if you have questions, now is the time with those questions. I am going to put the JHEP email address in the chat here. If you have any questions after we close this session, feel free to submit them there. And it will get to, they will most likely have the answer, but if not, they will forward it to myself or to someone in the actual department, and they will get your questions answered. Jim and Beryl, do you have anything before we close the session out? And we do have another question in the Q&A. So that didn't work either, but I'm welcoming your questions. These are great questions. Keep them coming. Ted, with whom may I discuss the Postmasters program in depth?
Let's see, Beryl, you want to take that one? Or? You want me to do this one?
Yeah, I think you know more about the Postmaster Certificate.
Oh,
than I do.
okay, so you can talk to me basically about it.
Yeah.
Probably the proper contact. As chair of the program, I can give you pretty much, I think, whatever you want to know about the program. So that's the contact. And I'm happy to deal with things, offline. You can shoot me an email. We can even set up a Zoom meeting or something like that if you want to discuss in detail.
I'm not sure who asked that question, but you can email that JHEP and we'll get you Jim's email address so that you can set something up to speak with him directly. All right. Well, do you have anything to say before we close out this session? Either one.
I'll say it very slowly. I'll say it very slowly.
Very slow.
Right. I would say, just in conclusion, we're very proud of our program. We think it's as strong as any online program, part-time program available in the country, maybe even beyond that. We've worked over the years quite hard, Beryl, myself, and others involved in designing this program to put together an outstanding program that is actually academically quite rigorous. As I said, as rigorous as what you're going to see at the main campus, but does accommodate part-time students. So those things sometimes don't always go together, but we worked hard to make sure they do go together within the ACM program. People seem quite happy with our program. A lot of them use it for career advancements. Some go on for further study, as we've already discussed, for a PhD or other doctoral level studies. So we're happy to consider anybody's application. And we hope that you'll consider joining us.
Great. Beryl, do you have anything?
I think that covers it quite well. So hopefully I'll be welcoming you to JHU at some point in the future.
Yes, we look forward to seeing you all in our virtual classrooms. Thank you, Beryl and Jim, for joining us today and answering all these great questions. Again, if you have any additional questions, email jhep@jhu.edu. And again, we look forward to seeing you in our virtual classrooms. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Bye.
Bye.